Hi, thanks, Meg. It's so wonderful to be part of yet another amazing Parent Sense webinar and all about pregnancy and this very exciting time in your life. So I really know you guys are going to have amazing morning and really get some amazing information. So today I'm very excited to speak to you around nutrition during pregnancy. So, for some of you, you might be on the webinar and you are thinking and planning about becoming pregnant. So, what are some of the things that you would want to think about if you are preparing for pregnancy? And for those of you that are already pregnant, this is not a heavy on what you did or didn't do. This is if you eventually have another baby down the line, or just things to think about, or maybe share with a friend of yours who might be thinking of falling pregnant. So, one of the things we want to really make sure is that you do before pregnancy to give you the best chance of falling pregnant, achieve and maintain your healthy body weight so that your body is in the best state to house this little new person that you've created. And you can do this by having an adequate balanced diet. What does that mean? It's like feels very broad, but in this day and age where everyone is kind of so into different fads and cutting out whole food groups, that's never healthy. If any meal plan or diet or person advising you tells you to cut out a whole food group, you really need to question that because our bodies need foods and nutrients from all the different food groups. And especially if you are going to be growing a little person inside of you. So your fats are super important. Your starches and your grains are really helpful and important from a fiber point of view, from an energy point of view, from vitamin point of view. Your proteins are very necessary, and as well as your range of fruits and veggies. And you need all fruits and you need veggies as well. So it's really important to remember that you don't want to eliminate a whole food group. And be physically active. So the rule of thumb is whatever you were physically involved in and able to do, you can kind of sustain that going into your pregnancy. If you're not a high-risk pregnancy, so if you're a runner, you can continue running in your pregnancy until you find it's just too difficult to run. It's normally quite safe. So if you are still planning your pregnancy and you haven't really been very active, just start simply walking. Walking is such a wonderful form of activity, and it's so healthy to do some physical activity because it really gets the blood circulating, makes you feel good, gets you out. If you're able to walk outdoors, or if you can only walk in a gym, then it just gives you a bit active. Or do a small online Pilates class. Are so good for you. And there are lots of online classes that are available that you can download off YouTube. And this can really be helpful for the birth process coming up and for just your general or overall health and well-being. And then obviously avoiding harmful substances. So if you know you are planning your pregnancy and you're planning that you would like to fall pregnant, you obviously would start avoiding alcohol. If you're a smoker, it would be really advisable that this would be a good time to quit because we do know that smoking can definitely decrease the amount of blood flow to the fetus, to your unborn baby. And so babies born to moms who smoke during pregnancy often are smaller in weight because they've just had less access to nutrients. So it's a good time to get you healthy. So that's really what we're looking at before pregnancy and going into your first trimester is what can we do to make you healthy, that you are going to feel at your best to house this little human. So what factors would place a mommy to be at risk and a mommy in the making? So this little baby's growing inside of you. So I've already mentioned weight going into pregnancy, but during pregnancy, we don't want you to just gain and gain and gain. In the olden days, we used to say, well, you're eating for two, just go wild. But we know now it's not safe to gain too much weight, just like it's not a good idea to not gain enough weight. So you want to have the right weight, and that's what you will be checked for at your antenatal visit, whether it's with a midwife or with your gynae or your local GP. You're going to be checked Is your weight on track? Because weight's going to indicate to us, is the baby growing enough? Is the amniotic fluid enough? Are you putting on a little bit of stores to help you going into breastfeeding, but at the same time, not too much? What health conditions do we need to watch out for? So things like diabetes. So gestational diabetes is where you become diabetic due to the hormones of your pregnancy, but post delivery, you're no longer diabetic. But this can have an impact on your baby. If you are a diabetic mom and you've fallen pregnant, then you are going to need to get help to control your blood sugar. It's really good to be well controlled if you struggle with diabetes or have gestational diabetes, because this will have a direct impact on your baby. And for all of us, you don't want to be eating so much sugar that it causes your insulin levels to rise, because this also, we know, can have an impact on the hormones surrounding your baby. So healthy, good, substantial food is what you need to eat. So avoid overdoing the sugary treats and that, but don't be scared of eating your fruit. Don't be scared of eating your healthy grains, your healthy carbs. Those are really good for you. So what I'm saying is basically avoiding fad diets. So like I said just now, any diet that restricts a whole food group, you want to be very wary of and watch out for. Unless there's a particular medical reason why you need to be on a specific diet, you can eat a general overall balanced diet. One of the best diets in the sense of meal plans to eat is your Mediterranean diet. So that is really where you've got your healthy grains like some rice, some pasta, some potato, and then you have red meat once, maybe twice a week. You have fish once, maybe twice a week. You include chicken. You include just some lovely flavors like your fats like olives and avos and olive oil. And so you get a nice balance, and then all your gorgeous vegetables, because Mediterranean diets are very rich with vegetables, and then your fruits, maybe 2 to 3 servings of fruit a day. So that's just an example of a diet that you can look into to consider going into your pregnancy, during your pregnancy, and then going into the breastfeeding phase. If you've got existing deficiencies, that could place you at risk. Some moms tend to be anemic. They have low iron stores going into pregnancy. You're going to get a real knock on your iron during pregnancy, and your doctor and gynae need to know about this, or your midwife, they need to know so that you can be given the right supplementation. And then also moms at risk are who have short intervals. So you have a baby and then before you know it, you fell pregnant again. Oopsie. But it doesn't matter, because you just need to be extra aware that you need a bit of extra nutrition, because you might even still be breastfeeding that previous baby from the previous pregnancy. So it's important that you look after yourself and just take a little bit more care if you've just come out of a pregnancy, are breastfeeding, and then go into another pregnancy. So what are some of the things we can look at during pregnancy? As I've mentioned, we don't eat for 2 anymore. We just eat for 1. You do need a few extra calories, but your body will tell you how and when you need that. You actually need quite a bit more extra calories when breastfeeding, more so than during your pregnancy. You might need a few micronutrients, so like vitamins and minerals during pregnancy, but not necessarily a whole lot of extra calories. Protein is really important, and this is something you need to be just a bit vigilant of, because what your baby feeds off, that placenta, which gives your baby all the nutrition, is made up of protein. And so you need to be taking in sufficient protein. The best way to ensure this is to have protein regularly throughout the day. So don't leave your protein only for nighttime supper. Make sure you have a few protein snacks and a few proteins during and a protein with each mealtime. And if you do that, then you will probably most likely be taking in enough protein. If your gynae or your midwife is concerned about the placenta and they're making comments like that your placenta is starting to calcify, in other words, it's starting to get old, then you might want to up your protein intake, and sometimes you even might need to have a protein shake, but you will obviously be given guidance on that. So protein really is important. Allergens, should you be avoiding nuts? Should you be avoiding egg? Should you be avoiding fish in the hope that your child won't have allergies? And the answer is a big no. Please, you must eat peanut butter, nut butters, eggs, cow's milk protein, fish, chicken. Please eat those during your pregnancy, because you're actually protecting your baby against the potential risk of having those as an allergy. However, if you are allergic to peanuts, please do not go and eat peanuts. Look after yourself and stay clear of your allergens if you are sure that they are allergens, because you want to expose your baby to as many allergens as what you can, because that will protect them from developing an allergy, because they've been exposed, so their body doesn't see it as foreign when you start to introduce it later on in life. And then looking at fat versus fat intake. Okay, no mom wants to be fat. No one wants to gain a lot of fat during their pregnancy, and no medical person wants you to gain that. But we do want you to take in fat. In other words, we want you to eat good, healthy fats so that your baby has access to omegas and to the essential fatty acids, which are all good for your baby's brain. Because your baby's brain is made, or all our brains are made up of 60% fat, which is really important. So cutting fat out of your diet is not going to be an advantage at all. But you don't want to overeat on calories, because that will add body fat to you. So there's a big difference there. Folate is so important in your pre-pregnancy and your first trimester, because that protects your baby against neural tube defects. And so if you can't stomach multivitamin and pregnancy vitamin in the first trimester because of nausea, just make sure you're taking your folate. Vitamin D, iron, and omegas should be included in a good prenatal supplement, and you must continue to take them. And what happens when food just doesn't seem like what you want? So you get nausea, you feel horrible, or you have excessive cravings. Pregnant women often have what we call picker, which is where you do have a desire to eat a stone or tar or sand or something bizarre. You want to chew on some iron rods. And that really could signal there's a potential deficiency. So check in with your healthcare practitioner. Are you getting enough of your multivitamins? And then if you have cravings, follow them. But just be wise, okay? We don't want to get a whole lot of junk food. So we might crave ice cream, but maybe we could also get it in a good full cream yogurt, which might be a little bit healthier. So we could satisfy our craving with that. So just be wise about the choices you make with your cravings. Don't let your cravings lead you down the wrong paths. And if you're nauseous, you need to just manage your eating, manage your blood sugar. So sometimes you need something just before you get out of bed. If you keep your blood sugar consistent throughout the day with small little snacks and meals, it can actually help alleviate quite a lot of the pregnancy nausea. And then what do we do about breastfeeding? What can you prep? Can you prepare anything before you kind of go into that next phase? Well, we know that your baby gets a lot of amniotic fluid they swallow in, and the amniotic fluid's role is to prepare your baby's digestive system to accept your breast milk. And if you can't breastfeed, then it might be needing to accept a formula. But the amniotic fluid's wonderful with that. It's got an amino acid called glutamine, and glutamine washes through the digestive system and really just helps this little gut to mature and grow, and for the absorption and the bacteria in the gut just is wonderful for that. Also, your amniotic fluid helps with the early taste exposure. So if you are taking in, for example, broccoli, your baby gets those tastes while they are still in your womb by swallowing the amniotic fluid. And during breastfeeding, if you keep eating broccoli, they're also going to be exposed, and hopefully you'll have a wonderful broccoli eater. Breast milk is affected by your diet, and it can definitely be impacted. So for example, if you eat a lot of sugary foods, and that you might have high amounts of lactose in your breast milk. And lactose is very healthy for your baby, very good for your baby, but in excessive amounts can make your baby very gassy and very colicky. So if you reduce the amount of refined sugar you eat, not carbs, not good fruit, it can actually help your baby whereby having less lactose, and then it's easier for your baby to digest the breast milk. You also want to make sure that you've got enough protein in your diet then. So very similar diet to what you have during pregnancy, you want to take into your breastfeeding. So pregnancy is a time to prepare for that, and you want good proteins, because good proteins slightly increase the amount of protein that's found in mom's breast milk. And fats make your breast milk rich, and you don't just get a sugar water, you actually get a thick, rich breast milk that helps your baby grow nicely, gain weight, feel satisfied after a feed, and get all the essential fats and omega-3s for their brain development. So it's really important. If you're not breastfeeding, you also need all the good fats, all the good proteins, because you are recovering. And so that is why it's really important that you continue your prenatal supplements even post-pregnancy, whether you are breastfeeding or whether you are not. Continue it for at least 9 months if you are not breastfeeding, and for the duration of breastfeeding if you are a breastfeeding mom. So that is done, and it was so wonderful chatting to you. And now we are going to hand over back to Meg. Thank you.